South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to deliver the 2022 State of the Nation address on the back of security concerns, rampant corruption and fraud, rising unemployment, and a strained treasury. Security concerns have been made worse by the fire that gutted large sections of Parliament and the damning findings contained in a report of a panel of experts appointed to probe the reasons behind the July 2021 unrest, which concluded that factional battles within the African National Congress have become a serious source of instability. Arise News correspondent in South Africa, Mxolisi Masango, joins us now to preview the president's address, the recent developments in the country, and the recent interviewing of the judges who applied to be the next Chief Justice of South Africa. Great to have you on Newsday, Mxolisi. What can we expect to hear from Ramaphosa's speech this afternoon?
Well, it's all systems go ahead of President Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address for the current year 2022. Now, this is at the backdrop of all those social ills that you've just mentioned as well in your intro. Now, this is, with an economy that is not really doing well, the July unrest that we've seen last year in the country, and as well as a high unemployment rate in the country. So he's expected to, of course, duly address all of those issues that South Africans are facing currently. This is also at the backdrop of the infighting as well as large-scale corruption we've seen in the form of the ruling party under the ANC. So one would say that he would really have to put a very tough balancing act as he delivers his State of the Nation today to ensure that, of course, he pleases some of, the people that are looking up to him ahead of the State of the Nation address, but also allay fears of ordinary South Africans at the backdrop of hopelessness, as well as most South Africans being jobless in this point in time. So what he's also dealing with right now is trying to ensure that the country's economy steadily rises and continues to, at the back of the global pandemic, COVID-19 as well, because this will be the second State of the Nation that he, delivers under the COVID-19 regulations. This will also be at the City Hall this afternoon. So it would seem that Ramaphosa would really have to pull out a really tough balancing act to ensure that the State of the Nation for this year speaks to the hearts of most South Africans.
So is the president also likely to address the state capture report in his speech tonight?
Well, if he did not, it would really mean that he is not serious about what he's been saying about fighting corruption in the country, because right now it would really be telling of what he will be saying about the release of the state capture report, because we're eagerly awaiting the last report, which will be delivered in the next coming weeks. We saw the delivery of the second report, which of course spoke about some key government officials who were found with their hands in the cookie jar. So it would really be important to see how President Ramaphosa will be addressing, first of all, how the report is being taken by him. And second of all, it should not really just be about talking shop or about just saying that he'll be taking action, but South Africans would really want to see action on large-scale corruption that saw most high-key government officials being fingered in the report.
Mxolisi, can you shed more light regarding the recent interviewing of judges who apply to be the next Chief Justice of South Africa?
Well, that was a very interesting interviewing process which we saw happening throughout the course of last week. Some of the headliners that were deemed to be suitable candidates were the likes of Justice Maya, who was actually the only woman who was in the interview, who was one of the interviewees. She's one of the front runners for the top job right now, which is why the JSE has decided to recommend that she be the next Chief Justice for the country, which would of course be a historic historic moment for the country, seeing that she would be the first female Chief Justice for the country. It was a very diabolical week where we saw even some of the top judges here in the country, being thrown with allegations of sexual misconduct as well as corruption in the bench. So last week was really, a turning point for the South African democracy, seeing that some of these politicians would not really let some of those judges go off lightly, because they kept gunning and wanting to find out what they would be doing to ensure that South Africa, turns around and becomes a state which is free of corruption as well as favoritism, and there would be generally just no large-scale corruption, and we would have a judiciary that is independent and impartial. So that was happening last week. We're eagerly expecting to find out who will be appointed the new Chief Justice by this week.
And we know the State of the Union speech will not be taking place in the parliamentary building, which was gutted by fire. Can you give us an update on the suspected arsonist, as we know that Friday he's to have a judgment?
Indeed. Well, bail after hearing, bail hearing after bail hearing, it was found that the suspect, of course, might have to be undergoing psychiatric evaluation. But of course, the court came out and said that this was not necessary at that point in time. And he's eagerly awaiting to really find out whether he will be granted bail by end of this week. So there has been back and forth arguments with the defense as well as the state, with the state on the other side really trying to prove that the suspect is, of course, the person who burned down Parliament. But the defense is not hearing any of it, saying that this is a man who was a homeless man and was literally squatting outside Parliament and would not really have the resources to burn down Parliament. So we are waiting on the judgment, which should be delivered by Friday, to find out whether the Parliament arsonist or the alleged arsonist will, of course, be granted bail.
Mxolisi Masango, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.